Sure
is
being
this
raised
piece?
right now on Facebook News.
Where
Right.
And this is the piece of the
That's
town.
probably the old highway.
Called to order at 7:10, a little late. We apologize for those joining on Zoom and live. Public hearing. Public notice. Notice is hereby given in accordance with RSA 675:7. The planning board will hold a public hearing on proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance on Wednesday, January 8th, 2025, at its meeting begin at 7 p.m. at Troy Town Hall as follows. Amend Article 3, General Provisions, Paragraph 1, to eliminate the prohibition on allowing new manufactured housing parks. Amend Article 3, General Provisions, Paragraph 1, to allow manufactured housing parks, to allow manufactured housing on individual lots in a rural district, and amend Section 4 of the Town of Troy Manufactured Housing Park Ordinance to require a minimum of 10 acres for a new manufactured park and to limit the total lot coverage by buildings and infrastructure to 35% of the lot area. The board will also hold public hearings on two petitions. A citizen's petition to delete paragraph F.6 of Article 12 of the Town of Troy Zone Ordinance, Solar Energy Systems, waivers that authorize the planning board to waive any requirements of the Solar Energy Systems Ordinance. And two, a petition submitted by the select board to amend the zoning map by changing tax map 13, lot 2, from the light industrial district to the highway business district. A full copy of the proposed amendments is available for review at the town hall during regular business hours. Thank you. So, first one, which is Amendment 5. Manufactured houses permitted or crossed now only in existing manufactured housing parks or in subdivisions created specifically for manufactured housing in the rural district, subject to the provisions of the Troy Manufactured Housing Park Ordinance and Troy subdivision and or site plan review regulations as applicable. That was Article 3. Any public comment on that one? Anything from the board on that one?
Yeah, I'll comment over here.
Carl?
On that one, it's dealing with, in a nutshell, is to allow new parks.
Recording stopped.
Or new subdivisions, to create a park.
Correct.
Mine's kind of, my comment is kind of twofold, it deals kind of like with both of them, so I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Obviously, I think that the planning board should put their best foot forward, I've said this before, and choose which one is best for the town. New parks, or a new subdivision and set parameters for that park, or are you gonna let mobile homes move in on any individual lot? So now, you know, and without restrictions on those homes. So somebody's got, you know, they just put up a $500,000 house, and right next door, somebody throws in a trailer on an individual lot. I don't think the town of Troy, or the people in the town of Troy that own their own homes, is gonna like that. Unless, maybe there's some provisions where you can require, well, it has to
Recording
be a
in
double
progress.
wide, it has to be this year or newer, or something of that nature, maybe. But maybe these mobile homes belong in parks instead of on individual lots. You're gonna open up a big can of worms. You gotta really think about this and decide to put your best foot forward on what you guys really think is best for the town. And I don't think throwing mobile homes in every individual lot is gonna be a good one. So it's kind of twofold. I'm dealing with both of your issues. And that's pretty much what I have to say on that.
Can I say something, Kyle?
Sure.
My understanding is though, that if we decide to let them in the rural areas, right? You can't put like a 1960s trailer. It has to be HUD acceptable, right? Isn't that what we read last time we were here?
I think we were discussing the current HUD standards.
Right, and the
Which
HUD
isn't-
standards are, like, they're more manufactured homes, so they don't look like a 1970s single-wide trailer
I
anymore.
think the issue he's referring to, and I could be wrong, individual lots don't necessarily, so that HUD standard we have, we're putting in is for like the parks, that's the ordinance for the parks. I don't know if we have a provision for individual lots to meet certain standards.
I think you changed, I think it was general where you changed it. It was in the general zoning provisions.
I think that was the last, I just can't remember, I wanna,
Right, I think it was,
cause we did discuss.
broadly that you were gonna meet the current,
HUD.
Yeah,
that
that's
still
what I
has, that still has
remember.
to pass. I
Yeah.
think that's a change you're making, right?
Yeah.
Cause it's going
But that has to
from,
pass, so
Right.
if that doesn't pass, but then individual lots passes, then you don't have that.
right, exactly, which it's more likely for that to pass anyway, to change the zoning to require that any home that comes in meets the current standards. The current standards are 2018 or 2019 is when they
Are
updated.
you talking about in parks, or are you talking
No,
about?
all manufactured.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's something that I think the planning board really needs to think about, which direction they wanna go, one or the other, not both. And if you're gonna go individual lots, you really gotta set the parameters on what's gonna be allowed on those individual lots. Otherwise, you know, somebody puts a tin can in there, we've all been to the towns, we've all seen it in individual towns, and it destroys a town. And on the flip side, if you're going to do, you gotta do one or the other. If you're gonna do additional parks, then you gotta have the parameters set up for that too, and think about it, and set those parameters where, you know, how many acres minimum or maximum, and otherwise you're gonna have a, just as an example, somebody who currently has a mobile home on a lot who owns extra land, is gonna throw, you know, 5 or 6 more trailers on that little lot and call it a trailer park. So, obviously, it's gonna
Any
be both up.
new housing subdivision of parks would be covered under the current manufactured housing ordinance. And we do have some changes on Amendment 7 coming up, which puts a minimum size on these and coverage of the lot. So we might answer that.
Okay.
I'll bring it back to it.
Yep, I got ahead of myself
No, it's
because
fine.
my
Problem is they all kind of intermingle.
my comment deals with both of them, you know?
Yeah, so my comment kind of deals with all three. So
Well, this is, these are all interchangeable, so
Yeah,
it's kind of
it-
rough to,
it seems like they all kind of go together, so having, you know, a little bit of conversation about all of them makes sense, but, I first of all had the logistical question on, so Amendment 5 and 6, the way that you guys left the meeting last time, the intent was to give the public the choice
Yeah.
to vote for either one, and if they supported both, then we basically covered the entire law. We allow them on their own part, on their own lots, in subdivisions for manufactured housing, and in parks for manufactured housing. That was the idea. I don't know if it's a clerical error, and I don't know if this can be adjusted at this hearing, or you have to have a whole nother hearing to fix this, but it looks to me like you're rewriting the same article. So if they both pass, how do you rewrite the same Article 3, Paragraph 1? This is Article 3, Paragraph 1 in both scenarios. It's almost like one of them should have been an addition of a paragraph to the zoning instead of doing the same thing, doing 2 different things to the same paragraph, which I think
I
if they
think that's
did
more of
both
a
pass.
clerical error, because we did discuss what happens if both of them happen.
Right.
I think that's a clerical error. We did discuss if both happen, there'd probably just be 2 paragraphs, one behind the other.
So, and one of the other things that you guys had talked about was the provisions that you have down on Amendment 7, changing only new parks were gonna be subject to those changes. And it seems that combining 7 and 5 together would make sense, so that if 5 passes, it passes with those regulation changes, or if it doesn't pass, those regulation changes are not needed. So, that's, when we left the meeting, that's kinda how I understood it to be. Expected to see it in this write-up, and it's come out a little bit different than what I thought you guys had planned, so. And I know Carol wasn't here, so I don't know what transpired between that meeting and this meeting, but it seems like a little bit of
You good?
communication error, almost.
You
I
might
have a
be-
comment on that, Kyle.
Yeah.
I think, the only reason I think we had them separately was because in case the town voted one down, we still had some guardrails in case someone challenged that.
Challenged.
Like, if the town has the right to vote all of this down at town meeting, and that we would have some sort, we would hope that maybe they would allow us to put some sort of regulations in for.
So if they did 5 and 6 down.
Okay, I get what you're saying, so if we were in violation of the law essentially, if someone came in, sued and said, you can't,
Said,
tell me I
have the
can't
right
put a
to
park
do
in,
this,
okay,
then we have a law.
I do remember that part of the
Yeah,
discussion.
that would kind of have some guidelines rather than, all right, we're fair game at this point.
Yep, I do remember that part of the discussion, but I think one of the key components of that was that it was going to apply to those new parks.
Right.
And the way it's written, there's no identifying new parks as the change,
I agree with that.
or where the change was going to affect.
When you read it, Kyle, you said new manufactured housing park, but that doesn't actually say new in
Yeah.
it.
I think to Carl's point though, I have one last comment. From my understanding, everything in zoning on individual lots, you can't do anything different for manufactured than you would for a regular stick-built house. But by changing the regulation to require that they meet current HUD standards would get you out of the tin can scenario that you laid out. So, and it's hard to have something moved from somewhere else that isn't 2018 or 19 or newer, or bring something old up to that standard. It wouldn't be worth doing. So I think the scenario where you have that happening would be pretty low. But so that's why we talked about it at the last meeting, was like, we definitely got to change that, because it meeting the 70s HUD standard is too loose. So, and they made that adjustment, and hopefully the town supports it. I'm sure they will. But, so.
Back to amendment 5, though, it should have the word new in there somewhere, shouldn't it? Or,
I think the new is in Amendment 7, number 1 and number 2. Somehow for new, those two requirements would be for new housing parks.
yes, you wouldn't have to just put new up top, because you're just allowing it to be in parks or subdivisions.
But we wouldn't want these rules to, well, we would or would not want these rules to apply to existing.
On amendment 7. So we probably want to add minimum lot size for new manufactured housing parks.
I think it kind of goes without saying.
Probably, but
Existing park
feel like
would be
it'd be-
grandfathered in, because
Yeah.
it was conforming when it was established.
Yeah.
That's how we discussed it, and the latest opinion letter would kind of confirm that, from Attorney Hoffick.
Wouldn't the 1-3 through 454, I don't know if that's a typo, wouldn't that apply to the existing if they added new mobile homes in there?
Those are already in the regulations.
yeah,
The
those
only
are,
thing that's
Oh, these
bold in
haven't changed,
italicized
okay.
is the only change.
yeah, the only, I'm not sure, we're adding 1 and 2, because those don't exist.
Right.
I think that's where the numbering I messed up.
Right, renumbering.
3, 4, 5. 4 used to be 04 and it's now 6, it should be 6.
Got it. So anything that's bold is new,
Yes.
okay.
And I think Matt is correct too, that the current park we essentially grandfathered in because it existed before we had these 2 amendments. Do you agree, Henry?
About the grandfather?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it.
and they're already established the parks, so,
It would be easy to put new in. I know it's, to your point, Henry, I think it's implied. I think everybody understands that, but as
should
of late,
understand it.
every word
It
of our
certainly
zoning,
clarifies it, but
yeah,
new.
has been dissected and picked apart.
Yeah.
And it would probably behoove us to just make it clear.
We would never have that though in like another district's lot and yard requirement. You know, in the rural district, new subdivisions must be 2 lots. We would just say 2 acres. We would just say it's 2 acres.
Yeah.
So, from a consistency,
So it's just that little word. Okay.
I hear what you're saying. I don't think it makes.
I mean,
I don't feel that strongly. But our other lot,
it's a 3-letter word, I think we might as well just do it.
yeah.
I mean, he's right, there are people that have been nitpicking this all, so.
As long as we don't have to like bring it to another public hearing.
I don't think
for
so, we're
adding
just
one.
adding some verbiage. Pretty much clerical error, and discussing the new parks, and we didn't put new on there.
So,
We're not changing like the subject and the intent, we're just clarifying. I think if we were changing the whole subject and intent, we'd have to
Yeah.
do a whole nother hearing. And we're just kind of cleaning it up, which is kind of what this is for.
Mhm.
so if we go back to 5 and 6 for a minute, and what happens if both of them pass? They're both, in Article 3, both applying to paragraph I. So I think those are 2 separate sentences. So I think even though it's not the best thing, I think one sentence could just follow the other sentence if they both pass.
Just make it one big paragraph
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
adding.
Just
In
combine the
paragraph
2
I,
paragraphs.
in paragraph I, so I think it'd be okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's the cleanest way to solve that issue, if that comes in fruition.
Do what?
Fruition, there you go. Don't you know I cannot talk. One of those
I thought I
days.
heard a made up word. I
The letters were there, they might not be in the proper order.
On the, when you put these warrant articles out there, could it be done, you need to vote for one or the other? Or does it have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's how they would appear on the ballot. There's
Vote
2
for one or
separate
the
yes
other?
or no questions.
Oh.
Not on a warrant. It would be on a ballot.
It would say to vote for one or the other.
Yeah, there'd be a yes and a no box.
For each one.
For each one.
for each one.
For
He's
amendment
talking
5, for
about
amendment
if you can do
6.
5 or 6 as pick one or the other. We're currently having it as
Two
pick
separate.
one, other, or both.
Right.
He was asking if you can do or one or the other, which I don't think.
What does it
Well,
matter?
if someone wants one or the other, they would just vote no on one and yes on the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, I did cross paths with Carol in the last week, and she confirmed that the purpose statement would appear on the ballot.
Yeah.
You know, so people would understand. People would see like what she's printed in gray.
Yes, so the
Shaded.
gray being, the purpose of these amendments is to bring the zone ordinance into compliance with state law, RSA 674:32, that requires all towns to permit manufactured housing in one or both of the 2 options presented. So one or both, or in theory neither, people vote that way.
And on the most recent attorney's opinion, we are not in compliance.
Oh, really? I guess a blind man could have seen that.
So he changed what he wrote the last time?
He explained it further, but he also, in bold, says, I agree that it violates RSA 674:3.
This should be in your packet there, and I should have an email
I
too.
kinda made it a little bit more digestible, so it's not a bunch of
Yeah.
emails back and forth.
Yeah, that was the other issue, trying to share the email. I couldn't figure out how to share just a portion of it without you guys getting the 6, 7 pages. But I brought to his attention that specifically a paragraph that states no new housing or expansion is allowed is what we were concerned was in violation, and he said, correct. He missed that in his original. I guess I was not specific enough in my question the first time. I assumed you agreed through it and then
Wow.
back to us. I sent him the paragraph in question. And he
In your,
replied back.
in your defense, Kyle, I saw your question and it It was pretty clear.
Well, I in paragraphs,
It was
there's no
pretty clear what you were
confusion.
looking for, but, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty clear the way he explains it, but it's, you gotta really read it to understand what he's saying, but he's correcting himself.
I think they're paid by the word, and the bigger the word, the more money.
Did we get paid for the first opinion?
Did we get our money back?
Did we get money back for the first opinion?
Well, I'm hoping because the second opinion wasn't like a formal letter, we're not charged for that one, you know?
Is that same thing? Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure the selectmen will tell us what the budget cost us.
I would keep in mind that if someone wants to contest our ordinances, that this is who represents us in court.
That's the problem.
Any other comments on amendment 5, 6, or 7 as presented?
Just got one more question to Carl's point. If the planning board felt strongly one way or the other, maybe not one way or the other, but they felt strongly that we don't wanna do all three, we wanna do one or the other. Could you put it on the ballot in such a way that it doesn't make them have to choose one, but you do this one or neither? I mean, it sounds like a funky looking ballot, but it would be a vote for one and you have neither, and then you have either one. Neither would obviously continue to violate the law, but the town remains to have that choice now if they vote no on both of these,
Yeah.
so. But in that case,
Well, I think in the,
it puts them in a position to select one of the two, or, gives them now opportunity down the line, and it doesn't, put the town in a position to vote for all three if that's what the board thought was the right thing to do. Because I think that's what Carl's point is it's part of the planning board's job is to kind of sort that out a little bit and make a recommendation to the town.
And that's why I was saying it should be one or the other to comply
If
with
that's
the
what they
law.
wanna do, if they believe that it should be the town's choice through and through, then that's the way it is. But if you didn't and you thought maybe it was better to choose one or the other instead of putting the option to do all three out there, is that possible to do? And if that's even something you guys wanted to do.
I think that'll confuse people. That sounds more confusing. And is someone gonna stand at the voting box and like explain to each person what, having yes or no is like really simple, right? But in making it either
the yes
or,
and no is a simple part, it's always the verbiage for it that gets everyone.
I just think that way sounds more confusing to people. And I don't think I just think yes and no is really simple and cut and dry.
But when you vote for a candidate, it says vote for one. Vote for one.
Right, but
Doesn't
that's
say-
what they would be doing, right? It would be vote for one, yes or no, vote for one, yes or no, vote for one, yes or no.
So they vote for,
Or
vote for
three
both
out
of
of
them, or all three of them, then we're stuck with all three of them.
That's what he's getting at. So amendment 5 and amendment 6 could both be voted yes, so now town has both. He's saying, do we prefer amendment 5 maybe more than amendment 6, or do we, he's asking, we want to put a recommendation, which would we rather see pass? So, I guess that's a question
So
we
then,
have.
but then you're trying to influence the votes by the way that you word the ballot, the stuff on the ballot? Is that, I think that's what you're saying, right?
You can call it influence if you want, it's really a suggestion.
Right.
I mean, this board brings forth suggestions and ideas and stuff to the public, the towns to vote on. And sometimes we suggest other ones and others because we feel it's better for the town. To Carl's point, maybe a park where we have a full ordinance in place and can control it is better than allowing individual lots. Not that there's anything wrong with maybe newer manufactured housing, but we don't have much control. You have setbacks and current HUD.
Right.
Do we feel that's enough? Do people feel it's not enough?
I remember last year when we voted, people talked about it before we voted, right? Or is that doesn't, but you're talking right now about how you're gonna word the ballot.
Those are petition, you're talking about at town meeting,
Yeah,
these will be on the ballot the day before, so there won't be discussion. You're thinking warrant articles, these are zone amendments on the ballot when you go to the ballot box.
okay.
So we do hold the budget hearing, which is intended to go over all the warrant articles. We tend to skip over this, but it's not something that you have to skip over. So we could potentially bring it up to the public at that point as well, because then they'll be all crafted and ready for ballot. There's nothing that's going to change, but they'll at least give people the opportunity to ask questions, and maybe somebody from the planning board can be there to represent and explain where we finally landed and what each vote means, so that when they go to the ballot box, they have more information.
When you
So
do
that
it.
would be an opportunity to do that.
To answer her question, the time for discussion on these is right now.
You sound just like your dad.
Well, but that's, the time for discussion on this stuff is right now.
Right, so, and people not showing up.
Well,
is-
but so that's
Yeah.
besides the point,
No,
after
I
this
got you.
meeting, too late. So, if you wanna talk about it now. For my public comment, I'm vehemently against, expansion of mobile homes in the rural district. If we're gonna have one and we're gonna put this on the ballot, sure, let's let the park expand. But if, as to Ben's point, I think there should be a third option. The town, no other town in the state is considering this. The only reason we are considering this is because of the threat of legal something from someone who we don't know who might be. Maybe we do. But the perceived threat of legal action, let them sue the town.
It's deeper than that. It's the law, and if somebody now comes into town and says, I wanna put.
Carl, this is not discussion. I made my public comment. Would you like to make a couple
I'll-
comments?
I have a comment to your comment.
You don't comment to me, you comment to them.
I am commenting to them. Watch me, come on in and watch.
I'm good.
I'll just say this, Carl, before you go, maybe this answers your question. It's our responsibility to provide these options for the town to be in compliance. We're
Right,
not trying to lead them in any direction, it's just there's a new state law, and it would be irresponsible for us to sit here and say, we're not gonna address it.
absolutely, I
And
agree.
some towns have
That's all it
chosen not to address
I
it
agree.
because they don't want to.
It's all
It's
the-
certainly not every town is choosing to continue to
I
violate.
just had a conversation with the selectmen at Fitzwilliam, they're
I
discussing.
totally agree with you. You know, it's something, you gotta do something.
Like, yeah, if you don't let it slide, then you're just being negligent, and that's not fair to the residents either.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I don't have any comment.
I don't think we're really doing this because we're worried about people, but we just understand that's always something that could happen.
You just wanna be in compliance.
Yeah.
It's really irrelevant.
Yeah, and to respond to Richie, yes, this is the time to craft the articles themselves for voting and all of that, but once it's on the ballot, there's no reason why the public hearing shouldn't be a good platform to at least outline what it is they have to vote for now. Yeah, nothing can be changed, but at that point, at least they know what they're voting for. So there's no reason why you can't have
When are you doing
more
that?
discussion about it. 6th of February. 6 p.m.
At the community center?
Yep.
What time was that at, you said?
6 p.m.
I think that's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Not have to get too deep, and we're just gonna get explanation of what the verbiage is to this question, not changing it, so. I don't mind being there.
Well, if the public's confused,
That'll be
our attorney seems to also be confused, so I don't blame anybody who's unclear on what the purpose of this is.
I think going back to what Dick said last meeting, you can put 10 lawyers in a room and ask for a comment and you get 10 different answers.
You missed the statement that
We
it's blatantly
put the
just said.
same lawyer in the room twice and he had a different.
That's a little different.
Both points taken. Alright, anything else on 5, 6, or 7? I think, other than adding new on number 1 and 7, and I feel these are kind of set. And I'm not sure if we wanna add verbiage one or the other, cause, I feel like that's steering, we just wanna give all the options to the town in this case.
Right, I
We're
think it's
just
clear
trying to-
that the town knows they can vote all of these down.
Yeah.
Right, but it'd be the residents' choice to be out of compliance. And that's their choice. That's all.
It's not like, can see maybe making a recommendation if we came up with some stuff like a new zoning ordinance. And this is for state law, so it's like, this state law gives you options, here's your options. Not like we came up with something. I mean, I have no feelings one way or the other, so I guess the board feels we need to know.
Yeah, no, I'm good with putting them both on there, so the voters say yes or no on both of them.
Same.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we should put them both on there.
So there's 30, so that leaves. So citizens petition to delete paragraph F6 of Article, is that 12? Where's that? Town of Troy's underlying solar energy systems waivers to remove the authority of the planning board to waive any requirements for solar energy systems. They're looking to strike number 6. Number 6 currently reads waivers. Any portion of regulations may be waived or modified when the opinion of the board, strict conformity would pose an unnecessary hardship to the applicant, and such waiver would not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the regulations. That whole piece would be removed.
Where did we discussed this at the last meeting, where do we end with that?
So what we have to do, I guess we have to give a recommendation. That's the only thing, we can't change this, we can't do anything. We just have to give a recommendation, yay, nay,
Whether we support or.
yes or not.
Do you have to do a recommendation?
I think that's what we found.
I think Dick was
I think
here.
Matt found that.
Yeah, okay.
We have to make some sort of recommendation. The obvious first off is we have our own one that covers this paragraphs. Is it paragraph?
I think we're modifying it,
Yeah, we're modifying ourselves, so we'd probably recommend ours over this one. I think would be the easy.
What was yours?
Ours was to remove unnecessary hardship to the applicant and leave it to spirit and intent of the regulations.
And a second part that allows us to not only do waivers, but also to impose conditions that we didn't anticipate, like maybe a further setback or maybe a different coverage area. So it wasn't, waivers tend to be in favor of the developer, but in some circumstances, we may want to go the other way and make it a little bit more restrictive.
So, I mean, I feel like that you're taking the ZBA's job by doing that. Like, that's just my opinion, but don't, I mean, I would think that you'd want to leave that board with all the authority it could have.
And that's what this technically does.
Well, I signed that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, so I know that, you know what I mean? So I just don't understand why you guys would want to.
So sometimes for site plan, this is kind of like for site plans, you want to streamline the process.
Why?
It's a courtesy.
Why?
Sometimes-
Why? Why would we want to streamline anything? I mean, it's, let the developer do their due diligence, be out-of-staters, you know, out-of-towners or in-towners, make them do their research, make them do their homework, make them do their work, and if it's not viable, then that's on them. That's about business. That's my opinion with that. I mean, I came to this board 3 years ago with a long-term plan, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And this board told me, nope, we ain't got nothing against it, so go ahead and do it, and I didn't do that,
So,
you know? So I think that, yeah,
we could discuss this, but there's nothing to change in this one, we can't change this.
well, you see, I mean, it's kind of crazy to put yours in if this one's, you know what I mean? I think that was kind of where you guys left it, right? Like, why, what we recommending here?
Well, I think the input from the public is probably relevant to your decision on whether or not you recommend the.
Yeah, I mean,
The article.
I think that's where we are, is the public comment
Yeah.
on the petition right now.
But didn't we approve that amendment at our last meeting?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Relation to public
Not the
comments.
petition article.
Not the petition, our own amendment.
Our own
Our own
At the end of
amendment,
this,
yeah,
we
we
approved, so
approved them, right.
we can't, I don't think we can undo that.
I don't know.
At this point. we've already had a public hearing on it
I
and
mean-
said we want it on the ballot
Well, yeah.
the last meeting. I think it kind of forces us into, if we have to say something, we wanna tell them to vote for the planning board's amendment instead of the petition amendment. And if that means saying the planning board does not support the petition.
Could we state we
That's-
have no
But I think
opinion?
before we go there,
Does it have to be yes or no?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
So, I know if you were to change it and try to reissue it onto the ballot in a different format, you would have to hold another public hearing, but aren't you really just in deliberation stage? I mean, even, I know you voted to put it on the ballot, but if you voted to rescind that vote and open up deliberation again, does that require another public hearing? It's more of a technical question, I was just curious.
That public hearing closed.
Right, and then you went to the deliberation,
Yeah.
you voted on it, and
Yeah.
you supported it, and at what point do you need to go back to public hearing when you're not really changing anything but
Just
that
striking it.
decision you made during the deliberation? I don't know,
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
either. I would assume the decision's like set at this point,
okay.
or I don't know. I just don't.
Never had
just
to
don't
do
know.
this.
Yeah.
Never had to look it up.
Yeah.
Well, I would just think that you guys would want to lessen your work, you know what I mean? Like, you've got so many things going on that you just want the ZBA to do their job, you know, because that's the most, least amount, meeting, board in the whole town, so let them do their job and be done with it. And it just, that way, there's less chance of something getting missed too, you know what I mean? The ZBA, there's, you got a whole nother 5 minds thinking about this, like, oh, what about this, and what about this, and just make sure every base is covered, so we're not having an issue with whatever, you know?
Make 2 points. One is that having tapped on the VBA, I feel that this is often something that the planning board is better equipped to handle, mostly because we usually have Carol here. But this is because we meet twice a month and are staying on top of everything, we're usually just better
Yeah.
with our ordinances. The other thing is that this is for waivers, not variances. Variance has to meet the hardship requirements. If it doesn't, if you don't hit all 5 of them, then you don't get a variance. But the waiver here, the idea is something, okay, you have an idea that's basically gonna work, but there's something a little bit off, we want to have flexibility. And that's something that will be, but the variants have a higher threshold.
High threshold to meet to pass, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sat to ZBA too, so I'm very aware of the inner workings of it. So I still, I'm gonna stand my ground on it. I disagree. I think that you guys should let it lie and let the ZBA do their job, or I think it just needs to go through the proper process.
I'll just play devil's advocate for the conversation, right, from a resident standpoint, right, we all voted on a solar energy system ordinance, and then we waived something for each of the projects that got approved. I think, that felt like whatever ordinance we put in place, that we kind of went around a lot of that and were able to approve it. I think that this is the result of that, is a little bit more higher threshold to ask for that, and maybe not a waiver is correct, but maybe a variance is in those circumstances. This isn't for every ordinance, it's just for the solar ordinance. But I think that's kind of where this originated from, was the fact that, each one of those projects didn't meet our ordinance, but they're still here, right, and the town voted on those ordinances, so I think I heard you know, from various people that, what was the point of the ordinances? We were just gonna waive them, right? We waive some of the requirements. And that's why I think that's why this is here.
You're talking about the petition article dealing with where it has to go to a town vote? Are you talking about that one?
No, we're talking about the one to remove the waivers, any portion of regulations.
Is that was one of your own articles?
No, this is yours. This is yours, yeah.
Oh, that's what I'm asking, yeah.
Yeah.
That's dealing with the class 6 roads.
No, it's waivers for solar.
Okay.
So, right, you know, from what I remember, we did waive something for each of the individual solar projects, and this would,
It's town.
you know, remove that right for us.
Yeah, it kind of bypasses the Board of Adjustment. It's like you guys did it all.
There's a couple factors too, I think, to Jack's point, it allows you some flexibility to actually add more stringent regulation if it requires, which is a good thing. And maybe having that coupled with maybe a little less zeal in issuing the waivers, because if a waiver doesn't get issued, they still can apply to the ZBA. They have a second opportunity to apply for a variance if a waiver doesn't get approved. So there's they can make a couple of runs at it, and maybe that's just a board thing, being a little more stringent on approving waivers, but also having the ability to add something if it requires it is probably a good thing too. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a conditional use, so the solar arrays are allowed in the rural district, but not by right. So even though they're allowed, the planning board has some discretion for each application about whether it meets the conditional use criteria. We're thin on the conditional use criteria, and that's something we need to work on next year. But as part of that, in making it work, try to make it work or decide not to, in a given lot in the rural district, it gives the planning board the ability to tweak a few things if that's in the interest of the project, not just in the interest of the developer, but in the interest of the project. And also, if, for example, it doesn't fit in a particular setting, maybe make it a little bit more restrictive so that if the developer meets those more restrictive requirements, we can make it work. Like, you know, we learned some things in that one around views and sighting, and, you know, is it going to be within the view of the blueberry farm or not? So, you know, there's some cases where it may not be allowed, or some cases where you may increase the setback to make it work. So I think as long as it's not abused, and as long as we get the criteria right, I think it's a powerful thing to help development in town.
Waivers do go to the ZBA, correct? Not just variances.
Variance.
It's more like a special exception.
Special.
The special exceptions, variance, and it's a little administrative decision is the ZBA's job.
But from my understanding, a waiver is more like a special exception, except it's handled by the planning board rather than the ZBA.
Right, that's kind of my point.
Yeah, and special exceptions they go to the zoning board, but there are things that are permitted by special exception, and they have to go to the zoning board to get approval. So that's kind of a separate issue, but you're right, handled similarly. Waivers handled by the planning board, special exceptions handled by the ZBA.
How do we kind of feel on the petitioner that we want to vote?
is our choices, the planning board recommends?
Approves, yeah,
Or
either
not
planning board
recommends?
approves or not recommends, or, it's either yes or no, I guess, there is no in between.
Well, if we recommend it, we're overriding our previous, proposed amendment, so I'm in favor of not recommending the petition article.
That motion?
So, yeah, I'll make a motion that the planning board, state that the petition article is not recommended.
By the planning board.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Just a point of discussion, or just a comment on the procedural process. I don't know if this is definitive, but I'll just read from the planning board handbook. It says the planning board must hold a public hearing with prior notice provided in RSA 675-7. After the public hearing, the planning board must, by vote, determine the final form of the ordinance amendment or amendments to be presented to the voters. If after the public hearing, the planning board makes substantive changes to the proposed zoning amendment, it must hold a second public hearing.
Substantial being the word there.
Yeah, and I think if withdrawing an amendment that we already voted on, we
Yes.
would consider that like
Substantial.
So if we want to pull it, it seems like we'd have to have another public hearing. I'm not certain, but that's what it seems to suggest.
Do we have time to do another public hearing or no? Just asking for information.
Yeah, let's see if I can pull it up quickly enough.
So when people file a petition, does that you feel that what they're asking is not the way to go, so you're just disregarding what the people want?
No,
No.
no.
I'm just
It's
curious.
still going to the ballot.
This particular petition contradicts an amendment that we approved for the ballot at the last meeting.
Right.
So we can't
It'll probably
Have it
confuse
both
people more
ways,
if we
right?
think we said we favored both, because then people would be like,
where do you stand?
so that's why we wanna pick a stance. Whether or not people pick which one is up to them. So,
I guess one last comment to the board would be, you guys really wanna put yourself in a position where you have an ordinance on something that you're going to allow or disallow, and you're gonna have all these, well, we can do this, we can do this, we can agree with it and make these tweaks, we can disagree with it, make these tweaks. What's the sense of having an ordinance? Just let them do whatever they want. It makes no sense. You need a cut and dry ordinance. If they don't meet that ordinance, we don't throw waivers and throw money or whatever. If they fail to meet the ordinance, then they have another bite of the apple going to the zoning board of adjustment. What you're doing here is you're pretty much eliminating the ZBA. You're throwing waiver after waiver, and it makes no sense. Really think about that. I mean, I personally think it's crazy, but that's my opinion, and it's a comment that this isn't the road you wanna go down.
Just one comment to that, it's just for things that are allowed not by right, but for conditional use. And there's a few things in town, there's the campgrounds, there's the solar ordinances, there's just
Wireless.
what else?
Wireless facilities.
It's just a limited number of things where you don't wanna allow them by right, you wanna look at each individual on a case by case.
But the campgrounds are allowable use.
I think they're in conditional use.
I don't believe so. I just went over the ordinance several times. I'm pretty confident there are allowable use in the rule district.
We can. look-
Whatever, that's fine, that's down the road, but yeah.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, I agree with them, like, let the ZBA do their job, even if it's coming back onto one of my projects, I mean, let them do their job. That's what they're there for. If you wanna increase the you know, the guidelines on it, then do that next year.
I think signage might be another one. It's a tool, you know, conditional use is a tool, and Troy has used it, and I think
Yeah.
each section that has conditional use.
And both directions too, though, actually, both directions, because, you know, like, it wouldn't be hard to get 2 or 3 people on this board, you know, need the developer, have them come in and get on this board and sway the vote the right direction, with that being said.
Yeah, and I would argue that if we probably would go back to not do conditional use and do them by right in an area then, rather than.
You know, I was talking about waivers, I guess.
I see.
You see what I'm saying? Like, we could, you know, you could have a developer move into town and get 3 people on this board, and now we can start swinging things the right direction.
Where you have like rules, just, I'm not beating a dead horse, I don't want to sound that way, but you have a rule that says, okay, you can't do this on a class 6 road. Well, you waived it. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, that's for the ZBA.
As far as the calendar, February 3rd is the last day to hold final public hearing. And then it needs to be posted and on file on February 7th. So that's the absolute last day.
And that's to remove ours, if we wanted to do that.
Yeah.
What section of the plan for communication?
Yeah. Oh, no, this isn't.
No,
Oh,
before.
yeah. I mean, we could continue this until, if we're planning to meet next week, Carol would be available and could
Hold this off till then,
verify that, but
see what our thoughts are.
I.
Well, how's the board feel, I guess, between the two? Do they prefer one over the other?
I stand by my motion to
Yeah,
not
motion
recommend.
second
Yeah.
no, so.
Yeah.
We discussed, we discussed this last meeting. I know Carol's explained to the board that she felt it was in our best interest to have the waiver provision, so I'm in favor of sticking with what we approved last meeting.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion as put forward by Henry?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Those abstain?
No.
And one no. So our motion will be that we do not recommend the petition article put forward. Which will still go to ballot, though, it's not removing it from ballot.
Question for Carol, when you get there, if they both pass, what happens then?
Need
Yeah.
pitchforks for the menu?
I know I think it's clear, I think when people read them, they'll see the purpose and that they're contradictory.
Right, to vote for both would be foolish.
Yeah, I
you
think,
know. But in the odd case.
In the odd, I think we determined in the odd case they both went, we would have to cross that bridge when we got there.
next.
We didn't want to chase a problem that we're not sure we're gonna have.
Yeah.
So this option's going on the ballot too?
Yes, petition articles automatically go on the ballot.
Yeah, we can't remove this from the ballot. It's his to put on the ballot,
We can't even change the wording.
we can't change the word, we can't do anything
So
to
then
it.
what did you just vote on? To,
So by law, we have to, because it relates to zoning, the planning board has to say whether or not we approve it or not,
I'll recommend it.
or recommend, sorry. Whether we recommend it or not,
oh, okay,
so.
got it.
In this case, we did not recommend it because we already have our own referring to this that we already put forward. And that'd be really confusing if we put our own forward and recommend another one.
Got it.
That would really cause some confusion. Then we might actually create the issue of having both.
So at the budget hearing, you can not only talk about the manufactured housing, but these as well, I assume.
Do all of them,
Yeah.
Definitely.
it's not gonna hurt anything.
Yeah, yeah, on a year that you've got stuff that's not real cut and dry, yeah, I think it makes sense. We probably should be doing it more often, honestly.
And this is the only election we have this year, so it's
Yeah, that's what I thought.
not like last year, we had 5,
What time is it at?
6,
6
February 6th.
on the 6th.
6. At
If it's
61.
really severe weather, it'll be on the 7th at 6 p.m. We haven't canceled one yet.
Alright. So last, thing for the public hearing is the selectmen put forward a petition to amend the zoning map. We wanna change tax map 13 lot 2 from light industrial district to the highway business district. I believe the reason was so it makes it more appealable to sell.
So going through the email traffic with Carol,
Kyle, where is that?
Unfortunately, the selectmen didn't give us a copy of anything, so
What is it now?
It's so it's Coy Road. Know where the 3 trailers are when you pull on the Coy Road. The 3 trailers that used to sit there,
On the right,
like
just
30
before you
years
get to
ago.
the dump, yep.
Yeah, there's one lot there, lot 2, that the TRG owns that we're trying to sell. We sold lot 1, which is the dang property that all got clear cut. But the other one,
The old LeBlanc trailer park,
Mhm.
which is just before that, on the
I
right.
don't know the name of it, but yes, there's 2 trailers in there. So it's currently light industrial, so it has more restrictions on use than highway business would, and would not currently permit residential. So Carol said that should be changed to highway business at least, given the side yard requirements and limitations on use, otherwise the lot is useless. That's from Dick. Carol wrote up they put it on the, what's it called? Public notice for today. And let me go back on email.
I feel like
Just
we
send me
have
over.
the lots like merged as one in this app and not as individuals, because it literally has the funeral home services on one side and then it has them on the other side of it. Well, it doesn't even connect to Route 12, so.
I'm not sure.
Does anyone know how many acres it is? Like, is it conforming in?
So this is regarding rezoning the Coy Road lot. We would need to try to amend our public notice going into the paper this Saturday and add to that 1/8/25 public hearing. Please advise that this is what we want to do, and we can try to amend Saturday's notice accordingly. Carol believes we may be better off leaving it as is. The highway business district allows for any use under the village district, and both allow for single or 2 family dwellings. This is unless I misunderstood the intent in changing it. And then Dick responded back, it's currently light industrial, so it has more restrictions on use than highway business would, and would not currently permit residential.
Oh, I get it.
So long story short, select board wanna make it highway business district so that residential will be allowed use to make it more appealing to a prospective buyer.
So the town owns that lot?
Currently,
No, TRG currently owns that lot. We
So
bought it-
we're trying to
TRG
make
bought
it,
it from the town, and then we're
So
trying to
it's
sell
like
it.
Gee,
so we're trying to help them out.
We're selling, and
We're selling.
then basically this, I think this is one of the last, lots that the TRG owns. So,
As long as you don't keep
yeah, we're,
selling to them.
right,
but who
So,
owns that?
there's talk right now, we,
What is the
I'm
TRG?
assuming fast.
Troy Redevelopment Group.
Oh, okay.
So that
Like, I
was,
don't know who these people are.
so the Troy Redevelopment Group was the one, that is the entity that sold the mill.
Yeah.
We had several people come in and, back then it was myself, Dick, and Tim Wilson. When TJ got elected, he became a member, Tim stayed on for a little while, and then I think last year, Tim
how many acres is it?
asked to be taken off from the TRG. So it's currently the 3 current selectmen.
They own the Troy Development Group?
we are the,
It's a nonprofit group.
yeah, we are the board, for lack of a term. We don't own it, but it's a town thing, it's a nonprofit organization.
It's not even 3/4 of an acre.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't
Really?
give,
So it's non-conforming.
So you'd be creating a non-conforming lot, so to speak, because you'd be adding a use that's non-conforming. That's non-conforming to.
It's an existing law,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
We've already been down,
It's a
legally they've been
grandfather.
down that
Yeah, be
road.
grandfather though.
A lot, but it's like, what light industrial use would you,
Put on 3/4 acre.
like a small
I guess it's
warehouse?
grandfather, then you can
or-
build on it, so. Did you have?
Yeah, so what borders it? What are the, is it, are we taking a hole right out of the light industrial zone, or is it,
It's on, to the west, it's highway business.
okay, so
To the
one
east,
side,
it's
so we're
light
just extending
industrial.
highway business into,
Yeah.
okay, alright. I just wanna make sure we weren't
What
creating some
kind
weird
of
little
take-
one little spot. We're gonna have a hard enough time.
Right
with
down to the
maps.
center,
Yeah.
right there.
Well,
what is the lot we just sold, what's that?
Light industrial.
Light industrial.
It's like trapped in that, or is
Right.
the funeral home, what's the funeral home?
The funeral home is that longer
Right, but is it, what's that zoning?
highway
Oh,
business.
that is, okay, that's what it's at, alright.
Yeah, so kind of taking the line and going.
It's like a little, it's actually a piece, it looks like at one point
Well,
of
there's a-
that lot they just sold, it's like a tiny little.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a piece of state property owned in between the crematory and this piece of
That's
property.
number 3, okay.
So the state
I'm
owns,
looking at it upside down, that's why I'm confused when you're
the
talking.
state owns the land in between.
This quarter road, not 12.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right, I see it on, yeah.
And there's
So
some,
why,
or
I don't,
they wanna change it first before.
like, why wouldn't you just change it over to, why wouldn't they just change it over to residential? I mean, that's not, you can't access that piece of property from Route 12, so you
That
kind of
would-
introduce
That would
that.
be putting
It wouldn't border anything.
Yeah, that would be.
It would be putting a single residential
Right.
lot in the midst of
But what are you gonna put there anyways?
So if you go to if you go to
highway
high,
business.
if you go to highway business, it allows uses in the village,
The village,
which is
has
residential.
single and
Oh,
two-family
yeah.
residence.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like take a residential zone like Rural's or here, let's say. just,
I see what you're saying.
Right in the middle.
Well, it's across the street's
Oh,
residential.
okay.
I can't remember if the state came to us and asked if we wanted to purchase that lot 3.
I think we just-
So I can put like a.
Petition came to the selectmen, so I don't know what the thought process is, but we have to.
What's like industrial?
I'm assuming they're just thinking highway business, just go like
Right
this.
now, or- No, it's highway
It
business.
should've just went with, it should've just went with the other
And they
piece of
want it to be
property and been
highway
done with it.
Okay.
Is that piece of part, is like part of the town forest too, or along with the other one, or is it, no?
What?
The key ones.
That other piece of property?
Lot 2 or what other?
One,
That's the one.
The big one, yeah, the one in Dang Zone.
yeah.
We're gonna,
Well, I just didn't know if that, I mean, that one was supposed to be town forest, so I didn't know if this little sliver was supposed, is part of that whole vote that the town made years ago.
Yeah, across from the dump, yeah, that wouldn't be
there's
easy.
2 lots. I don't
Right,
know.
1978, the public at town meeting voted to make that all,
You know that was before I was born, right?
are you kidding me?
No.
Well, let's be
Well,
honest.
it doesn't even matter, but in 1978, they voted,
voted.
just to educate you a little bit, right, because I do my research. 1978, they voted at town meeting to make that all town forest through there. So, I just didn't know if that one little sliver is part of that, or,
How's it doing now, Courtney?
it's, I'm, about 5 years from now, I suspect it'll be all birch trees.
It's less
It'll be great
forest.
deer hunting.
A property, who's
It's been
gets the
deforested.
money?
Tier,
But what
They
do
cut
do
it this
with
year, they're gonna mow it next year.
I mean, whatever they want.
That's
Grazing ground.
That's a great question.
What, my question?
Yep.
Yeah, so this group,
Getting off.
when they sell something, where does the money go?
So currently, we purchased that lot, those 2 lots off of the town. That money will be paying the town back for it.
You basically borrowed from-
Not to cut you off, but it might be a better question to go to TRG or Selectmen's meeting to discuss it.
Okay,
'Cause
yeah, no
that's
problem.
the board to talk about it,
Okay,
because I think only one member here has ever been on it or dealt with it. So none of us could really probably accurately answer your question without creating more confusion.
okay.
So if you have questions about TRG, I think I'd go to their board meeting or maybe the Selectmen. but probably try to get one of their meetings, which is usually before the selectmen's meeting. I think it'd be best spot to get your answers on that.
We haven't had a meeting for TRG in a while, so.
Yeah, I've never seen a meeting posted for
Yeah,
it.
well, you should
They're
probably
always
request one.
posted, they're always posted, but just we haven't had one in a while, we haven't had a reason to.
Well, she can always request to talk to them, I mean, but I think that's where she should go for questions here, do not this board. Is what I'm trying to get at. So, I mean, we have a petition back to changing map 13 lot 2 from light industrial to highway business district. I don't see any issues doing that. The lot is 3/4 of an acre, but it should be grandfathered in for any use, provided it, whatever use fits on the property, setback wise and all that.
Why do they wanna change it?
It makes it more desirable to sell if you can have a lot of residential on it. Currently, it's only industrial use.
But the surrounding properties are industrial use.
To one side. The other side is highway business district, which does allow residential.
Right.
So they changed the highway business district, which allows residential. The property now has two possibilities: industrial use, business, or residential. So that's two factors to help the sale, and that's why they want to do it.
Can you put a residential on the 3/4 of an acre?
It'd be very tight. Yes, you could. I think the ones in the common are generally, well, they have water sewer.
The village zoning is half an acre, I think.
Half an acre, I think.
A trailer park, right, because it's the same use, but no, it's just, it has to be in so many years, so that.
Right,
Right, so that.
right, they wouldn't be allowed to.
Because before that was considered a trailer park with 3 trailers on it, but now it hasn't been used in
Yeah, well, there's like
a day or two.
if a use is discontinued for a year or more, it
Yeah,
has to
that's-
revert back to the
Which, I mean,
current use.
I'm not sure we need to discuss the uses too much, because we won't know what they're gonna do until they do it.
We don't know what they're, yeah, we don't know what they're gonna
You know
do.
what the intent is.
Um,
Their intent is to make it more attractive to buyers.
So is this like the other one where we have to say whether we favor it or not,
Recommend.
recommend?
So yes, we have, because it's a petition submitted by the select board.
I think we should make sure to take some public comment
Mhm.
before the board just deliberates on it.
Public have any comment on this?
You got any public comment on that?
I was
Changing
curious
it?
on what the setbacks were on light industrial, I guess would be my first.
Almost there.
I mean, not the light industrial, and
Highway business.
the highway business, because it probably wouldn't even meet that criteria, right, even if it.
It's 20 feet from side and rear, and edge of right of way. So 20 feet all around.
For the district it's in now?
For the districts it's in now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that seems.
Oh wait, no, that's highway
That's
business.
highway business,
Yep,
you wanna
sorry,
change it to.
wrong page. Light industrial lot and yard is 50 feet from right of way road.
Pull that
30
up again.
feet side and rear. So there's bigger setbacks than light industrial.
So in the highway business district, you can put a residence closer to the road than you would be able to in residential.
I want the other
So I
one.
believe it's 30 feet from the right of way.
Right, but I'm,
Residential, correct?
because it's only 70,
Maybe. But it
it's
would,
only 79 feet wide.
oh, really? Wow.
So in one spot, so I guess where I was going with this is like, it's really not even a piece of real estate at that point.
Well,
You
if
start
I think
putting-
that's the
you put the
TRG's
house
issue.
all the way to the other side, it would.
Well, yeah, you're right. I was just curious on what.
We can argue everything they're gonna put in, and someone just buys and put a parking spot.
No, agreed.
They can get a waiver.
Yes, wait, I love his
Well, I
idea.
guess that's where I was really going.
Back in the day.
So does that lot about that, where they cleared out on the
Yes.
street?
Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't want a house there.
Right.
It should have went with the other piece, when they sold that piece, it would have just solved the problem.
I mean, don't know when I was gonna do the property, I don't think it's really our concern to figure that out, but I guess I would put a motion to approve the petition submitted by the select board. I recommend the planning board recommends the petition put forward by the select board on amending the zoning map for tax map 13 lot 2.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think it would be an undesirable lot for residential use. I guess I'm still thinking about it. It sort of makes sense because it's next to highway business to just make it a little bigger. But our light industrial districts are really small. They're a very limited number of light industrial properties. I know there hasn't been a lot of demand, but it's another thought. And I also know we have a note later from Jeremy to maybe bring up that there's a site plan application related to that large property just to the east of it.
It's not complete though.
Do we know anyone know what it's for? Like what's being proposed?
I have a copy of the.
Is it was it storage? That's what I heard at one point.
It's. I'm trying to
Or
find
have
out.
it just
Can I
open?
talk about it, cause we're under litigation?
Oh, with the site plan that they submitted?
We're under, just went to court with it
I did
on
not
Monday,
know that.
so,
One of the things pertinent to this conversation anyways on the
Yeah.
motion.
let me ask a question.
Yeah.
I can get back to you guys. I know what it's for, what they're trying to do, but we have not received a complete site plan. as of
Okay,
right
okay.
now.
I mistook Jeremy's note that
They
there
have-
was a site plan, but he has a shorter correspondence that we'll read later.
As of right now, it is not complete.
I was just trying to get at that we should consider like the existing likely uses around this lot in our decision, and if that has any bearing on what would be successful on that property, whether it's in one district or another.
Yeah, I prefer just to move on right now and then, just because we're in litigation right now, we have to wait until they fix it themselves.
I think if the TRG wants to do it and we're running out of time to get it on the petition, on the March election, I think we should pass it.
Is it a petition article? Is already on the ballot, and we're just voting
We
to
just-
support, or?
All I got is a petition submitted by the select board to amend the zoning map by changing.
Oh.
So technically, all one article is selectmen, except for the petition ones, I'll just go forward.
So this is the public
Select-
hearing
select
So
for-
this is a public hearing for it,
okay,
even though
gotcha.
other warrant articles, we don't need a public hearing for, it's one of those things, yeah. Zoning amendments we do, yeah.
Is the selectmen's article the same as a petition article that goes on no matter what as written? Is that how that works?
I'm not a lawyer, I'm not that
Yeah,
savvy.
it's in the.
I'm not
it's in
that
the
savvy.
book.
I got a
I read it
draft.
at one point and just.
I got a draft of our warrant articles that we are submitting, or that are gonna be going on, but it's literally just a draft.
I'm just talking about specific to zoning ones, you know, when you're making a zoning change, so, and the select board has the authority to submit those, but I didn't know if they were just being submitted to the planning board for action, or if they actually make it onto the ballot.
Yeah,
I felt like I read that they do, but I don't know if you have to
I
weigh in on
honestly
it or
don't
what
know.
your,
I
what the
think-
rules are.
I think this was also like pushing for the planning board to see if they'll push it forward, along with the selectmen type thing, because it's really the planning board that puts zoning amendments in. So honestly, I don't know the details of it.
I'm gonna, this is probably make people angry, but how many properties have TRG sold in town?
I do not know. That one there, one over on Prospect Street, and,
Seems like we're
no,
more than one.
we're in litigation on two of them. The mill,
That's why I asked. how
and the
many
mill
sold.
is under litigation right now for the water and sewer.
No, it's not.
And the other one is, for lack of,
I love how you guys keep throwing that in there.
Neither here nor there for this conversation. I don't see an issue with it being highway business, as most stands prove it. Up to a buyer to decide what they wanna do with it, and who do you want the neighbors. You know, go next to crematorium.
Well, there's a state-owned piece in between, but
Is that, okay, is that between?
yeah, number 3 is owned by the state of New Hampshire.
Henry?
Just there are a couple of comments in the planning board handbook about petition articles. I don't have the full, RSAs in front of me, but RSA 675-4 deals with petition zoning amendments. And the planning board summarizes saying, if a zoning amendment is proposed by the governing body, select board, the planning board may not make substantive changes to the proposal. However, a notation must appear on the ballot stating whether the planning board approves or disapproves the proposed amendment. So that's what, so we can't
So it
change
kind of
that
follows the same
question.
rules as a petition article from the public.
Yeah. More importantly, though, there's notice requirements for zoning district changes. So notices need to be sent to the owners of each property in a zoning district if the amendment would change minimum lot sizes or the permitted uses in that district. I'm not familiar with this one because we haven't.
So that says if we
proposed
change
district
uses in the district, not if we change the line.
Oh, yeah, right. We're not changing the whole district.
We're just changing
Yeah,
where
okay.
the line
Yeah.
of the district is.
I misread that.
That's how I'm interpreting that.
Right, it says would change minimum lot sizes or the permitted uses in that district. Okay. Yep, false alarm.
No, it's good to know.
Wait, no, there's another point. Does someone have their full book for
The other one.
675-7? It says, there's another one, notice must be sent by first class mail to the owners of each property affected by a zoning amendment that would change the boundary of the zoning district, that is the case here.
So 675 what, sorry?
675-7.
Yeah, that's right, you are doing, you're essentially moving the boundary over to
Yeah.
capture that piece. Yep.
So did you say there's noticing requirements for that?
Yeah, it says first class mail to the owners of each property affected. This only affects one property. But
First class for the hearing, or when do we have to notify them?
It would notice, it would affect
This,
across the street.
it would, yeah, there's multiple properties across the street from this
it
property.
doesn't say abutters, it says, it says the owners of each property affected. I don't know what that means.
It
I
may
would
mean
assume
the-
that's
the one-
subject
The one that
properties.
changes, if your property is gonna change zone,
Oh.
Yeah,
you would need to know that.
so
But
the
it's-
select board needs to notify themselves,
Right.
in this.
Yeah, it's one property this time, but if it were like a sweeping change that encompassed.
Yeah, if we're gonna
dozens
change the line to
properties,
cover 10 properties,
Yeah.
we have to notify
It
those
would
10
seem
properties.
more, it would
Right.
seem more significant.
Don't we do that with the Fort Street storage units? To remove the.
No,
If
that
the
was
zoning,
an
if the
easement.
zoning
It
was changed on a property that I abutted, I would think that I would be affected by that. Right?
Well, I would think you'd be in a business, you would be affecting
Yeah.
anybody that's on that road.
Well, I mean, based on the law here, the touching property, so
Unless they're
it
just
would be
being
affected.
the
Yeah,
affected
no,
property.
actually,
Let's
I
see.
take that back, Courtney, you're not wrong. I mean, what is affected? Like, how far does that go?
That's where the actual
What-
RSA might be better than this handbook. I
What is
got.
it? What's the RSA?
675-7. I'll keep looking here for a second. But if affected means abutters, they can't be proposing.
I'm still
the amendment
confused.
yet.
It almost sounds like they're talking about a piece of property. Whoever owns that property, you're changing their zoning,
Right,
it's affecting them.
That's how I'm reading that.
definitely them, but,
Cause if it was for abutters,
This is
it'd
the-
say abutters.
On the line.
Right, you would think so.
New parks would be new.
So says this map that we're looking at right now, says it is light industrial.
Yeah.
And they wanna change it to highway
Harvard
business,
is
just that little triangle right there.
Hmm. 670, you said 676,
It's light industrial, currently,
676, 7?
and they want to change
No,
it.
675:7.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay.
I'm in the notice section here.
Okay. In a different part, trying to see how they affected is defined in terms of notices.
Cause it would be a greater use, right?
Resident, that's what I was thinking. Because in a highway business, could allow residential, light industrial doesn't.
This is sent,
That's what I said.
address used for tax bills.
The highway business is a greater than the light industrial, correct?
As far as uses go.
As far as uses go, correct?
Greater because it allows residential and.
Greater impact though, is, I guess is where I'm at with that. Like, so. Am I thinking that right? We've been down this road before already with another project going on, so I'm trying to think, is it with a lesser?
Zoning is, yeah, I think you could play in zoning and building code. 'Cause I don't know that they're the same, as far as the uses. I'm not, where do you see a lesser use
Well, I'm,
in the zone, in the
no,
statute?
I'm asking, no, I'm just thinking.
Are you finding that also?
I didn't find it yet.
Yeah, if a proposed amendment to a zoning ordinance would change a boundary of a zoning district and the change would affect 100 or fewer properties, notice of a public hearing on the amendment shall be sent by first-class mail to the owners of each affected property. Again, affected is the question mark. If a proposed amendment to a zoning ordinance would change the minimum lot sizes or the permitted use in a zoning district that includes 100 or fewer properties, notice of a public hearing on the amendment shall be sent by first-class mail to the owner of each property in the district.
So they're talking about one property, yes?
Either 1 or
That's
99.
as much clarification as they
Or
are.
at 1 to 100.
It's your.
The question is, what does
Affected
affect
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the next question. How is somebody
I
affected?
do say in the book here, it says under notes to decisions analysis, constructive notice, while property owners who might be affected by a zoning amendment need not be afforded actual notice of proposed zoning change, they must be afforded constructive notice sufficient to inform the public of the essence and scope of the zoning regulation under consideration.
I didn't follow that.
I'm trying to figure out. So it says, while property owners who might be affected by a zoning amendment need not be afforded actual notice of proposed zoning change,
That's
they must be afforded constructive notice sufficient to inform the public of the essence and scope of the zoning regulation under consideration.
It says they don't need to notice them, and then it says they need to notice them.
I think sufficient to inform the public of the essence and scope would be a public hearing.
Okay,
It would be my guess is that's what it refers to.
well, that's really clear in the RSA anyway, that it has to be,
Yeah.
has to be a public hearing.
But I think that's what it's referring to. And then it goes on to Bedford Residents Group versus Bedford, yada, yada, yada.
And this public hearing right now was noticed, so.
Yeah.
Is that covered?
So, I mean, I would guess that would cover the constructive notice sufficient to inform the public of the essence and scope of the zoning regulation under consideration.
Interesting.
I guess,
I mean, the way it's laid out, I guess it probably not even, you know what I mean, you're not really gonna do anything with that lot unless you own the one from the state, you know what I mean, and that's already there. So you've, at this point, it's,
So one of the bordering properties though is one that's in litigation with the town, correct?
Yes.
yes.
So it might make sense to make sure proper notice is at least given to them. I mean, you don't know what affected, I mean, and that would be first-class mail in that particular part of the RSA.
I mean, there
Just
again,
as an abundance of caution.
And it is abundant of caution, I mean, you just send it up that whole road, you know what I mean, like, you're only talking about 5
That's what I was just
parcels.
saying.
Right.
You know what I mean, like, maybe 10
Yeah,
on
if
the
you're
whole
gonna go
road.
that far, yeah.
Well, how many abut it, I guess?
It's all state, it's 90, you
Across
see,
the street estate.
yeah, all that,
Yeah, all
all,
that pink estate.
Do you need this
No.
done right away
That's the
this year?
quarry property, right?
yeah, that's the dump,
Yeah.
To me.
that's Dicey's, that's the state.
Whatever.
Right.
That's Matt's,
I think the
so you got 3,
lot three, I wanna say they
Four.
came to them and asked if we wanted to purchase that.
5, 6, 7,
Cause we had the first two, what's it
8.
called? First two-
Yeah, there's like a dozen.
We
on the
said, no,
road.
we don't buy anything, 'cause we were asked again about the 200 something acres over on the south side where the mill used to dump on.
Good project.
Well, there's plenty of reasons not to want that.
Well, we don't want, the monitoring wells along with break our just,
So I have a question, so this is a petition article from the selectmen, if it's not noticed properly, do we have any power to do anything about it, or does it still have to go forward? So, I mean, are we talking about something that's kind of a moot point, and we can just move it forward, cause we don't have a power to not move it forward?
Well, I think the public hearing is the responsibility of the planning board, so the notice requirements for that, whether they're extra for a situation like this, are certainly the responsibility of the planning board. So if they didn't happen, then, and you have time to make it happen, it seems like the planning board is the one responsible.
I get you. So if we have time, we should do it, if we don't have time, the select board could
I
just
think
move
Carol
forward with it.
mentioned something though in her email, I don't see anything.
Yeah,
So I think this is something she would've mentioned if we needed to do it.
yeah. It seems pretty clear you have to do it, but it also seems like it's a moot point because the town is essentially the owner. I mean, we could table that one item and continue our public hearing? Is that legal? Is that an approach until we get
Yeah, we can
clarification
table.
on whether a notice has to happen, and then we would continue our public hearing after the notice has been given?
We want to continue, or we want to do a rehearing because we still have to get the notice out correctly.
Yeah, that seems more straightforward. Or just,
And that, the litigation against, by the way, for lot one, it's the selectmen against them, it's not the other way around. It's the town against them.
Does the public hearing have to be closed to move the other amendments forward?
Yeah, cause you're having one public hearing for all of them.
right,
Stop throwing wrenches in
I just wanted to do it right.
I'm just asking a
Really,
question.
My main goal in all of it is,
Yeah, he's
One way or
not,
the
it's
other,
not
I'm
on
just
subject,
asking a
wrenches thrown at me.
Pass it over, go to the next one.
Get a waiver on this?
so that's what we do, we close our public hearing, just table a motion on
Yeah,
yes or no.
yeah, because you close the public hearing part of it.
There's a motion on the floor right now, though,
Yeah.
to approve, right?
To-
We're still in the
to-
discussion.
Yeah.
To recommend
Yeah.
the petition.
So, someone gonna withdraw their motion then?
I will withdraw the motion that I put forward to approve the petition for the selectmen.
Who seconded it?
A second,
You have to,
withdraw the second.
So that just leaves it open, we close public hearing.
Did you vote on the first?
We would vote after closing the
Okay,
public
I just
hearing.
wanted to.
Yeah.
So
public hearing closed at 8:39, is that right?
I'll take your time, right, 'cause I don't work on my phone.
Yeah.
Further up the table, buddy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Read more for this one.
I think so. The last one.
Yep, that was the last one for the, public hearings.
Thank you.
And with the blood map.
So we haven't finished with our
That's public.
zoning amendments though.
Yeah,
Because
my last one for a while.
the board voted
I know.
on recommendation
So
for
mouthy.
the petition,
That's it, tell me.
but we didn't vote
That's
to
right.
I started doing tax.
send amendments
I'm
5,
gonna be
6,
out in
and
time.
7.
It's time.
So,
Yeah.
No, we still need to-
we still need to discuss it or vote on
The
it.
actual warrant, we talked about it, Tom, yeah.
Okay, so
So-
it's not like the
And
petition.
deliberate.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it is, it's a petition, but it's on the warrant, not on the ballot,
So,
town meeting.
Yeah, so
The
First,
one
yeah.
for solar.
I'll-
Yeah.
just to keep things moving, I'm gonna make a motion
Yeah.
that we approve amendments 5, 6, and 7. With the amendment of the word new in amendment 7 to read the minimum lot size for a new manufactured housing park. And the maximum lot coverage is that for a new?
Yeah.
For a new manufactured housing park.
and this number here.
And there was a typo in the numbering, which would now read 1 through 6.
I'll second.
Oh, will not repeat.
Yeah, I forgot about the wording change.
You gotta get out of the
I do, but my recorder turned off, so I'll have to remember.
That's the
This
reason.
one's going.
Any discussion on the motion put forward? Move amendment 5, 6, and 7 with this minor clerical
Second.
notes.
What'd you say?
Any discussion on the motion put forward? I can make another bad word if you want. See none, all those in favor of the motion put forward?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstains? Nays? Passes. So we're gonna check on the selectmen's one, right, and then we might have to renotice that?
Yeah, I don't know if we have to vote to table it or anything.
Well, if we
We're
table
just
it,
not voting either way on it.
yeah,
at
I
tonight's
think we're on
meeting.
the right, because we vote on it in some way, then we're stuck to how we're at. So we leave it as is,
Yeah,
and then talk to Carol and renotice the hearing. We're not gonna change the verbiage, it's just a question of whether we've done the correct noticing.
right.
So I don't think we have to do anything with that one for now.
I'm unclear if we had to like formally vote to table it, but as long as the membership understands that's what we're doing,
Yeah.
I think we're safe.
I think the issue with tabling is that we wouldn't be renoticing the hearing, there'd be no renoticing.
Oh, I see, okay.
That's why I don't wanna, if we table it, then
I see.
we're using
Yeah,
the
yeah,
current
that's like
notice.
killing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to imply
I
that.
think if we leave it as is, go back to Carol, whoever we need to go to, did we notice this correctly, yes or no,
Yeah.
and then just do another hearing. That would make sure everything's good. I think is the safest way to do that one,
Yeah.
since there is a question on,
Elizabeth or who's been talking to Carol about that particular amendment? Curtis, it sounded like you were in touch with,
Jeremy.
oh, Carol and Jeremy were going back and forth?
Well, Jeremy and in the email that we were all tagging, or whatever you wanna call it, it was just conversation going back and forth and asking if we wanted to do it.
Could you,
But she didn't say anything about
yeah,
noticing it, that's what I don't understand.
Could you, I think it makes sense for someone on that circulation to just reply and say, hey, we noticed 675-7 requires, property owners to be noticed. Do we need to,
Look into this.
yeah, we did not make a decision on the amendment tonight until we understand if that has to happen.
What was the RSA again?
675:7.
Colon 7?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anything from them, correct?
No, I was asked to,
I think it's right. So they essentially.
yeah,
Owners of
Affected.
property affected by the zoning amendment,
We're just unclear of what affected means. Whether it means
must.
includes and butters or not.
And the owners of each. Yeah, owners of each property affected by a zoning amendment must receive first class mailing. First, notice in first class mailing. Not second class.
No.
Second class is gonna cut.
Sam? Hopefully I worded it somewhat.
are you planning on having the next planning board meeting? Sorry, are you planning on having the next planning board meeting next week or the week after?
Those are my next questions of the board.
Okay, because if we were to notice another public hearing, it would have to go into the paper on Saturday to be noticed for the 22nd. We've already missed the deadline for the 15th.
So that leaves us, we have to do the 22nd anyways, then.
It was just fine. Input.
So typically, because of the way it works, the next meeting will be the 15th.
Yeah.
It's too late to notice, so the next meeting will have to be the 22nd.
Yeah, we might wanna if that has to happen, we should be sure we don't need Carol, cause she might have that conflict with the other community she's working with. We could go to the 29th too and still be ahead of the deadline for
Guess we'll have to get a hold of Carol to see.
Well, she's on email, so.
Yeah, we can't really decide that tonight without.
Ultimately, you can meet next week without it being in the hearing. And
Yeah,
then
we can meet next week without being here. I guess we talk to Carol then. I have no
another
problem with that.
option.
So you wanna do that? Just gonna
I'm fine
meet
with
next
that,
week and
personally.
don't have to do public hearings stuff, obviously, so. I think we have enough other stuff.
It was supposed to be noticed now, right, in order to make the.
For the 22nd. We've already missed the 15th.
Right.
Yeah, for public
We still
hearing.
have-
But we can hold a regular meeting on the 15th. So we'll still hold the meeting on the 15th, and then hopefully then Carol will let us know. And ask questions in case she's not gonna be there. Alright, Mike and Nurgis Blood, don't think we had anything from them, they haven't showed up, I don't you see the correspondence.
Did they just buy that property? Got sell that quickly?
No, I believe they were interested and they had
Oh.
a few questions.
You just had a few questions, but we had the public hearing last meeting, they didn't show up, so I left them on the ballot.
State.
Or, I left them on the agenda in case they wanted to
The
show
small
up.
one or the big one?
Yeah.
Is this Monadnock Street?
Yeah, it's the one owned by the state that abuts the power line.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the 35 acres that was just
I
bought?
think it's 45, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
45.
I don't know if it was just bought or not, but it's definitely for sale.
Someone bought the 5 acres on the same side as the power where they're doing the new power line stuff, and someone bought 35 or so acres on the other side.
That's it, huh?
But I left that on there from the last agenda just in case I showed up, but I haven't seen
That's what I
anything.
thought, yeah.
Let's just go over draft meeting minutes of December 18th.
Whoa, that motion. 79. Should read that times. Approve amendments 1, 2, 3. Split 5. So the motion on line 138, where we talked about having the minimum lot size and the coverage, is, so I don't think the first part of the motion reads correctly. Motion to amend the ordinance. Is this a motion to propose a new amendment, or it was to propose a new amendment for
Right.
tonight's public hearing?
Yeah, which became amendment
so-
7.
So that's kind of what I suggest, is motion by Chairman Smith to propose a new amendment
To do
to the Troy manufacturing, yeah. Just 'cause- I know what it's doing, it's just a little, makes it makes it look like we're amending ordinances with a motion at a meeting. That's all I've got, looks fine.
make a motion to approve the minutes as written with the, verbiage added on line 138, proposed a new amendment to amend the minutes of December 18th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstains? We are well aware, sir. Alright. So the only thing I have is kind of, this relates to issue her brought to us from Miss Cassidy. We talked to NHMA lady Monday. I can't get them to answer my emails. I was hoping to have an email to bring. She did say that Miss Cassidy did not vote on anything, so she didn't hurt the board. I don't think she quite understood. She would say that the arrest report looked like it prior to her joining the board. She did say maybe the comments on Facebook would be an issue. I did not make her a vote member tonight because it covered manufactured housing. I don't, due to the issue with manufactured housing or some of the park orders in her, I think she shouldn't be voting on any manufactured housing stuff. We discussed, but I don't know if she should be removed from discussion. NHMA lady, Susan? So the biggest issue has is if she voted on something and then they had it impacted them. But I think if she doesn't ever put a voting member in any discussion of manufactured housing, I don't think we'll have an issue. Whether the board wants to pursue other removal or anything else.
So, Kyle, I'm sorry, just to clarify, you're saying that any judicial matter related
A
to
judicial
that-
matter, she asked if she voted on anything that would affect them, I
Right.
said she did not vote, that I can remember on anything. We had not made it, she was an alternate. She said you should be
but-
safe there, but I would not let her vote on anything that could affect them, because that could go against you.
So going forward, it would be voting and discussion on judicial matters related to
I
that?
think voting was the issue. I don't think discussion is necessarily an issue.
According to the case that Ms. George had cited, it would be an issue. If she were to
Which
sway the
case?
vote of any other member
Yeah.
of the board, then the
Yeah.
court would find it
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
irrelevant.
that was my understanding, not on legislative matters, but on judicial matters.
But we legislated her eventually leads to judicial too.
Well, more like if they had a site plan before us or something like that versus a zoning amendment, for
Yeah.
example.
And then this was passed out at the select board, you can have a copy at the next select board meeting regarding a similar situation.
Oh, goodness. I'm just suggesting we do not allow a vote on anything that has to do with manufactured housing, whether it's park, single lots, or anything. Just want to put to the board what they would like, what they think on the matter. This one was on the paper.
Was it Dublin? Or,
Yeah, Dublin.
yeah. I guess it comes down to a matter of whether, what type of behavior do you want represented as the planning board, the town trust.
of situation.
Mr. Kyle, I don't know if we should give Ms. Cassidy an opportunity. I know that Herb and Ben spoke at the last meeting, but I don't know that whether she had an opportunity to comment on what they planned.
I have no issues with that, she wishes to.
I'm sorry, what?
I have no issues with that if you wish to.
Yeah, I think me posting on Facebook, most of it was before I even came on the board. And the court case also, at the urging of Chief Ellis, he said, just, come with me and I'm not gonna do it, you're not gonna get fined. And that was from them as well. And I could have fought it, and the judge even said you should fight this, but I didn't want to spend the money on an attorney, and so he said, I'm not gonna charge you for it, and it was dismissed, sort of. I had to plead guilty, no contest, or not guilty, so I pleaded no contest. But I think all of the other stuff, whatever, I just posted on Facebook things that I wanted to say that people have told me, so I was just repeating stuff. The things about the storage, I was told that they did not have a site plan, and I just was repeating that. But I don't know what else, what else you want me to say. I think it's obvious, you're gonna ban me from voting, but I don't know if that's a legal thing, but the abutters get to vote on it, but you're gonna block me from voting on it. That seems kind of weird, but.
It could cause us a legal issue.
Right, so that's.
It's a legal thing.
Right, okay.
And as an alternate member, we have to actually appoint you before you can actually vote on it.
Right, exactly, I haven't, you're right, I haven't voted on anything.
So, yeah.
I think,
And I guess some of this stuff was before you became a board member, but you could argue that you became a board member because of this stuff. That's how it could be viewed too, that's.
true, but it also be, which I've stated before in other meetings, I own a house here, I live in town, and I wanted to get on a board because I wanna be a part of the town, so, having a say in the town, and so this was the board that I chose to apply to, and I had seen you guys ask, I don't know, I saw Elizabeth, I think, posting on Facebook that they needed another member. And so that's why I joined it because I wanted to be a part of the town making decisions. It had nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
And no matter what he insinuated, I'm not marching to Eric Ferris's drum, I'm here on my own accord for my own reasons, and because I care about what gets built, how it gets built, and how the town has their ordinances. And so that's why I joined this group. I'm not part of any cabal or anybody trying to make changes based on what someone else wants. So that's my spiel.
She just accused me of something. Did you see her point to me?
I just said what you said.
You just accused me of something. And I didn't say that. I didn't even insinuate that.
Just you said it.
No, I did not.
Come in here and put 3 people on the board to get.
I was making a point of what could happen. I did not accuse you of anything. This is exactly what drew these guys down here, saying that.
No, this is.
And I just drew up a text message of her calling them the thugs on Facebook. It was a lot more than that. She's been told things. This irritates me because she's been told things and they've been inaccurate, and she repeats them. And she's representing this town. I've got 30 years in here, in this town.
What does this have to do about you being 30 years in the town?
I don't want you two going back and forth.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go back and forth, but this is the point. It got into the subject of a guy's house being washed out. Incorrect, inaccurate.
That's not inaccurate.
It is too.
Well,
It's
that's not-
110%. But anyways,
That's what
it's the
this
name
board's
calling and
saying.
stuff like that, and she sits this board, and it's a face for our town.
And she called Mike.
Yeah.
She's
And she's
attempting to
accused him of
avoid
stuff? I
after
mean, that's-
becoming a member, so, yeah, a lot of this has happened, again, it continues after becoming a member, so.
Right.
What?
it's all continued after you became a member, you've
Yes.
accused me
I
of
said
things
most
online.
of it was done before I became a board
It-
member. I
it
didn't
hasn't
say, I did
stopped, I
not
guess,
deny
is the
that,
other thing.
that it was after.
So,
But yeah, okay.
I think one thing I learned, I'm not that familiar with these types of proceedings, but one thing I learned was the need for, if it's a judicial action, like applying for a site plan or something like that, is we need to be impartial on those items until the public hearing, and then we deliberate. And I
Yeah,
think-
that makes sense. I
Right.
understand
So
what
I
you're
think
saying,
in this
yeah.
particular case, where you've been out in public with a position about things before any action came to you, that'd be hard for us to consider that you're impartial, just
Right.
on their site
That's
plan
the issue is,
applications
you
or
know,
anything like that. So
You can say you came here for your own, but someone could take the evidence, like I said, lawyer can have 10 opinions, I can take 10 opinions off your Facebook posts. That's the issue here. You know, and I think people forget too, you talk about the park owners, but there's probably 40, 50 town neighbors that live in those parks. It's not just the park owners anything affects. You have neighbors, town residents that live in these parks. 2 people seem to get targeted or something on this. Probably 50 plus people that live in these parks that we could be affected with stuff we do. Something we need to remember too. We're here for the town, not just for individual thoughts or I don't like this person, I don't like that person. Well, when you affect this one person, who else do you affect? There is sometimes a tumble down effect. And remember, everyone here is your neighbor, so to speak, in this town. So that's kind of why some of us take this so seriously. And we, you know, they bring it to us, we have to look at it, we're trying to be impartial. You take some evidence, and it's hard to say you're being impartial when you put some of that stuff forward. And I think you know that. And I think you've had an altercation during a selectmen's meeting. It's like, you gotta think, 1, how does that show you being impartial? 2, is that appropriate? You know, there's a lot of things you gotta think about, because then we have to kind of,
I had an altercation during the selectmen meeting.
I believe there was a little bit a while back, had to do with parks, I believe.
Had to do with what?
I think it was parks or you and Ben maybe, but I have to go back and check something, but
Okay.
either way, we have to be careful, we all have to be careful how we act. We also have to try to be impartial. We can have our opinions, but we have to be careful. You know, we're not trying to impose our opinions, we're trying to be impartial for the town. It's okay to have opinions, we can all disagree, we all have our thoughts, but we just can be careful how we go out to the public. You know, if you're not sure it's true, you're just repeating something, you should probably check, all of us, before you just put it out there. And that goes for if you're a member of a board or not. As a member of the public, you should make sure before you put something out, because then 2 people repeat it, 4 people repeat it, and if the source was incorrect, you're spreading misinformation whether you intend to or not, or slander or anything. So, I think this is why we're trying to take it so seriously, because applications get bigger. You know, if you voted on something, and let's say it affected a property owner in town, and they wanted to come and say, hey, I didn't get my way, she has, or we have a issue with the police with this person, that could actually, in court, not go in our favor, and they'll go in their favor. You know, stuff we all gotta think about, not just you, officer, we're talking about you right now, but you have to remember that we all represent this board. You know, everything we do is under scrutiny, whether you realize it or not. It's also why we don't always comment on Facebook. Sometimes we'd like to reply to, today I'd like to reply to a couple posts, you know, hey, we did get a second letter from the attorney. Problem is, you start talking on Facebook, someone else talks from the board, now we're discussing. You know, it'd be nice to reply to lots of Facebook to try to spread information, but it's a slippery slope, so many of us just do not touch it. The other problem with Facebook too is if you misword something, you may have meant something else, but looks like that.
Well, as a town official, there's people that are blocked and not everybody sees it, so if you put out information, it's not.
There's a whole other issue there, so.
There are pages that most every town official is blocked from in town, and a lot of different conversations go on those pages as well. and there's been accusations, you've accused people of illegal activity, they're on the board or not, and as a town official, I just don't think it's appropriate. It's not what, I mean, we're inviting chaos. I had a very similar view to you when I got on the boards. 2 years later, I do not share that view. So, I think if members came in here and kind of learned how to do it in an appropriate way, that's not easy, but to not, I don't know, come in with preconceived notions that you quickly realize that there's a lot going on. So, but to act in those other manners is really, that's a personal choice. It's not of not having incorrect information or not. She chose to attack people. That's a choice. That's not a wrong information. So.
I guess, what does the board feel would be the correct course of action? I mean, I'll give my personal opinion, just so you kind of have a thought out there and open, just, I don't think she should be voting on anything to do with anything manufactured housing. She has shown a strong opinion. I think we should recommend her on actions, you know, make sure she understands moving forward, there's a leash here. But say that we need members, but I want to shoot ourselves in the foot with members, so we should take consideration of leaving her as an alternate, but not put her on a voting status. That way she can choose to learn, hopefully help the board in the future.
I want to point out that the list for voting coming up in March, we have 2 positions that are open, and I think the open position that Richie left, I think it was Henry's and Matt's, right? Plus the 3rd position, so, and that's to finish out Richie's remainder term, so we could have a whole different board that come March, just throwing it out there. So, if you decide to run, or if Matt decides to run, or if Henry Wright decides to run again, we could have a totally different board moving forward, so just enough of that.
So you're saying if I wanna run for the position, I can put my name on the ballot for March, right?
Yeah, we have to do that January 21st, and I think it closes
February.
February.
I thought it was the 31st of January, which is the last day for declaring candidacy.
It was either 30th or 31st.
You do that here at the town hall?
Town clerk's
Okay.
office. But you can't open it until the 21st of January, so nobody can put their name on the ballot until the 21st.
Oh, so it's for 10 days that it's open?
I feel like it's longer than that.
I thought it was longer, but she's gonna be posting it out, and I think
It might be posted on the website, I'm not sure.
yeah, it might be on the town website, and I think she just was doing some paperwork today to post it out there and let people know, so it might be hanging up outside in the foyer. So, with that being said, Henry, if you're gonna run again, you put your name on it, same with Matt. Or you can not choose to run, it's up to you. If anybody else wants to run, I'll put it out there, it's open to anybody, as long as you're a registered voter in Troy.
January 22nd through this January 31st.
Alright, thank you.
That is a short time frame.
Yeah, it's a wicked short time.
Oh, and the last day, you have to do it in person, you can't just fill out a piece of paper and drop it off. And the last day, you have to show up in person to do it.
And on the 31st, the office is only open from 3 to 5 for that particular purpose if the office isn't normally open on a Friday.
Which the
Which
office
they are
is
now.
open from 9 to 1, but they're gonna extend it out to
Yeah, they have
3
to do
to
the
5.
3 to 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was just talking about it today, actually. That's all, sorry.
No, thank you.
on that caveat though, let's say you get it out and get voted in, you still have the same issues with voting on those matters.
Well, like I
Because
said, I'm not here just because of the drugs, so I'm definitely gonna put my name on it but I understand that you're gonna limit what I can vote on in regards to manufactured housing. But I'm not here just for that, so.
And Kyle, I would add to that, if Herb or Ben bring forth any applications, that there would be no discussion on those applications as well.
And I would remind the board if we did. Yes, we would.
Jack, what do you mean by that?
Well, if they bring forward an application, like a site plan application or something that they're applying for,
That also you're saying I can't.
well, not only not vote, but not be involved in the discussion. So in some of the stuff I read there's a New Hampshire Housing Municipal Association, Knowing Your Territory, they go over all the court cases and stuff. For things like applications, if someone sort of has a position that's not impartial, just their being involved in the discussion could make it easier for someone to have legal action and overturn a decision.
Okay.
And that vote, that information about the 22nd to the 31st is posted in the foyer and the lobby and on the town website. You just got a text message.
anyone have any further comments? Yeah.
I'm ready for dinner, so.
Yeah.
That's how we close this out.
Just everyone keep in mind, everything you do represents the town. And in some ways yourself. You do not make importance. So we're gonna meet next week, the 15th.
I'm just gonna ask one question.
Yep.
Do we wanna do anything with that? Do we wanna, ask Lisa Stedman if she's still interested in, WRPC commission seat?
I think we have to ask the selectmen if they're willing to nominate her, because they're the ones that shot her down.
Conditional
I have no
use.
problem asking her. I think we really need to go to selectmen.
Well, I think you wanna ask her before you ask anybody, because she's not interested in the
permitted
use.
use.
Anyway,
I just said I don't want to
Check it out.
check it out.
Maybe that's
She
what
just-
She just pulled it up.
Well,
But maybe it's a contradiction.
Yeah,
I guess it's still our
No
recommendation
surprise.
regardless, it's up to them to shoot it down. That was just my question, because we had it posted now for a while too, with no answers. I know we had talked about qualifications that, I mean,
When was the last time they met?
she's highly qualified.
The commissioners meet quarterly. Commissioners who are elected to a board position.
So have they met since Steve was nominated? Steve did get nominated,
No,
right?
yeah, Steve's met, I think they've met twice since we've been able to nominate two people.
Yeah.
Could we invite him to the next meeting, or like, try to get on track of him at least come in after they meet?
Steve
Yeah.
Story to come in?
Yeah. What did they discuss, how to get in that flow?
Yeah.
Get that rhythm flowing.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure he'll come to us if something important comes up, I wanna make sure we kinda get in the rhythm. So when the new board comes in, you know, we got a rhythm.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I've asked for this agenda item to be on here was because I wasn't sure if the town actually submitted all the documentation on to the planning commission. I'm not sure that had been done. So I think Steve, anyone can come to the commissioners' meetings, they're public meetings, but I think we might still owe some paperwork
So,
about
does the
Steve's
planning board do the
original
paperwork or the selectmen's office?
Well, it kind of ends with the select board, because the two things are the documentation that the planning board nominated them, and then that the select board confirmed or approved the nomination. So it's kind of just like, I can check tomorrow, I just,
I thought that was already after, Jeremy sent a letter or whatever, or
yeah.
in the minutes.
I guess we just wanna verify. We're not sure. He could do his job perfectly, we don't know.
Right, but, yeah, I'm still right, you could, I don't know. And
But-
then, Matt Meacham might not wanna run for planning board, wanna run for SWRPC,
But to Michael's question, I would be in favor of inviting, or finding out from Lisa if she's still interested. I think she'd be a good, fit.
Yeah, I don't see any issues with portrait.
We'd have to cross, if she was interested, we'd have to cross the bridge of, okay, how do we maybe communicate better with the select board about it? But,
That's why I was just wondering if we talk select board first, because I don't wanna,
Why don't,
hey, let's ask you again, and her get
And
her
then
hopes
get
up and then
shot
get
down.
shot down
Okay,
again.
I see what you're saying.
I don't wanna be rude to her, I don't wanna make her feel like she's being tossed around. I think we should approach the select board
I guess
first.
that depends if we're having a discussion in public about her without her knowledge, I don't know, like, you know, it just seems what comes first, the chicken or the egg.
Yeah, I mean,
a simple question.
Are you still-
interested? I don't think she would be.
I'm fine, I just said something. I just wanted to throw it out there, but I think just ask her if she's interested.
If we were to.
If she says yes, then I think we need to immediately contact select board and say, hey, we'd really like to recommend her again.
Yeah, and maybe we'll give us some reasons why.
You know, just point out too, I think we've had an ad out there,
For quite some time, yes.
so I mean, not that we haven't tried, but.
Right.
An ad for what? Sorry, I used the restroom.
SWRPC commissioners, representatives from the town that go to these quarterly meetings and kind of go over stuff in the region. Southwestern Regional Plan Commission?
If you go, I think Henry gave me a pretty good description, if you go on the planning board's Facebook page, I think I always pin it to the top.
Oh, there's a Facebook page for the planning board?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's another person, is it someone from the board?
No, I set it up as, with multiple members that can post and have things on there, but, no, I didn't want, what we ran into some other pages that, town officials had used was that whole blocking thing, there were people that were blocked and couldn't see.
Oh, that's what you were bringing up, okay.
Right, when we were recording these at the beginning, the person posting those was blocking people, so it became an issue.
Became a legal issue.
So,
No.
yeah, so we made the pages specifically so that everybody can see them, they're
Got
public
it.
pages, but they don't function the same way, so they're.
Yeah, I have one for my wildlife rehab, it's not chatter, it's just a page where you're, like an ad, it's a Facebook page,
And
yeah,
when we share, I always turn off commenting so that we're not
right.
just having discussions about that kind of stuff. It's just.
But I can go read about this commission there.
Yeah, Henry made a nice description of it, we just asked if anyone was interested that they would come to a meeting.
Got it.
Alright, so, Henry, do you wanna email Lisa, just check?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to
And
do
then
that.
we'll go from there. When's the selectmen meet next?
Next Thursday,
Next Thursday, so.
we just met last week, and because the first was supposed to be our meeting, but it was a holiday.
Yeah.
For the planning board, the selectmen still met on the second.
Yeah.
So we'll be meeting on next Thursday.
Yeah, we moved the water and sewer for tonight, cause this would have been our normal one.
So I guess she gets back to us, so we can push stuff forward.
Jeremy said he forwarded that question to Carol, so we'll just wait for a response back.
Perfect.
The question about the notice,
Yeah.
Who's Jeremy?
he's the town administrator.
Oh, okay. Does he work?
Yeah,
No, he works in the selectmen's office.
Your selectmen's office.
Oh, okay.
clerk.
He's the
Selectman.
one that
Gotcha.
he reports to the selectmen on all the day-to-day business, what's going on in town. He's in charge of the town.
He administrates the town.
Okay. Is he an elected official as well?
No, he's hired by the selectmen, and the selectmen are not here on a daily basis, so he represents the selectmen
okay.
as we're not here. We only meet twice a month unless there's a special occasion. the first and third Thursday, and then Jeremy takes care of town business, day-to-day business and everything with his staff, as well as the town clerk and with doing their stuff. So both departments, both offices work together.
This is not the planning board, but who's in charge of the dump? Is that the selectmen board? Like for me?
Ultimately, the selectmen are in charge of all departments in the town of Troy.
There is a person down there that is in charge of it when it's open.
No, yeah, no, I
But
just
the
have
highway
this,
department-
I have a question about the clear bags and something else, so I didn't know, that would go to the selectmen board? Okay.
Or you can bring it to John Coombs, the highway department, because he oversees the transfer station.
What's his name?
John Coombs.
John, oh, okay, John, I think Keith has mentioned his name, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know it's not this, but I
That's
just,
fine.
since I figured you guys seem to know everything, so,
We'll answer what we can.
I like it, thank you.
But sometimes you gotta just say, hey, go somewhere else.
You don't know everything, trust me, you don't know everything. This is probably the most knowledgeable select board that you have, because we've been through a lot in trial and error type stuff.
There's a lot of,
Selectmen, you're not gonna know everything off the top of your head. It'd be the same thing on this board, the
Yeah, there's no
ZBA,
board that's
it's something you have to sit on for quite some time to learn. Like, I've been on the planning board, as a regular member since 2014, 2015, and then I got elected as selectman in 2017, and I've been the selectman's representative for the planning board.
Right, that's why Dick Faxton, you couldn't make it the last meeting, but he was here representing
Right.
the selectmen board, because you weren't here.
Right.
Got it.
One of us will sit in on boards, like depending if we're out of town. Like, I go on military, because I'm still in the military.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be gone for 3 weeks at a time or whatever. And I won't be able to come in, but I usually call in to the meetings.
if you can.
But you're only allowed to do it in certain meetings, like, we all can't call in. You still have to have a quorum here.
Oh,
And like, if I couldn't make it to this meeting, I can call in and have Kyle, that I'd still be a voting member, but you still have to have a quorum physically.
Still have a physical quorum here.
Right, same thing with the selectmen.
so now do the selectmen have a representative on every, the zoning board, the water and sewer, so they're on every board?
Yeah.
Got it.
Now, years ago, they didn't always show up, just so you know. This board is the most proactive board showing up. And once again, videoing, this is not a mandated thing that we have to do. We started doing it originally with audio recordings, and we're posting it on the website, and then we went to video recordings. And people were using the equipment and posting it on their own private Facebook page.
With town.
Same thing with the library though, you can use the town equipment, all you gotta do is sign it out if you want to. And there was a big situation, so now somebody usually take volunteers to do this. We don't have to do it, we're not mandated by the townspeople to do this.
Right.
We do it to keep people informed and keep it transparent for everyone, so everyone can see what happened during the meeting. You can go back and read.
Right.
3 minutes and 60 or 45 seconds into it, this happened. Okay, you can't question it because you got a video recording of it.
At the same time, too, you can see why it's sometimes confusing for people looking in, because we have side discussions. You know, we talk about public hearing, and we turn to TRG for about 15 minutes.
And meeting minutes can, like written meeting minutes can vary,
Yeah.
right? Like, they can be very vague and quick and short, or they can be really.
Yeah, I think the legal requirement of minutes is pretty slim.
Cover what you discussed, right, because.
Yeah, we could have done a
discussed
whole
some zoning
paragraph for our
amendments.
last meeting for minutes, and I've been perfectly legal. Obviously, and Jack and Eddie have done a great job of really getting pretty detailed minutes.
So they didn't say if you have a video meeting minutes that you still have to have some kind of a written?
Yeah.
You can't bypass
And
it.
a
Okay.
draft is supposed to be available 5
5 days.
5 days after a meeting. Doesn't have to be a finalized and voted on draft, but a draft has to be available of some sort.
Got it.
And I think, like I said, the actual law requirement for minutes is date, time, motions, and very basic. It doesn't have to get very detailed. You could literally have probably less than half page for our meetings as a legal requirement for minutes. Obviously,
So
this-
Jack is knocking it out of the park, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
And Abby does
The best way to look at it is go back 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years and look at the minutes.
Right.
And tell me, what did they really talk about?
So another thing, because we're posting on YouTube now, once we stop our meeting and the camera gets shut off, it takes a little time for it to get transferred over to,
I know, I've
Facebook.
seen people on the
And a lot-
town, not the town, but the community, all complaining that it's not there, and
It
it's
takes a
like,
minute, because somebody has to go in there and make it public to those entities. That's currently TJ,
Yeah.
one of the selectmen that does that. And also, any public comments may get, not transferred over from YouTube to the Facebook. So more likely, the Facebook comments that came over tonight during the live stream will get deleted when they get brought over to, Facebook.
And that's nothing that we're purposely doing, it's just unfortunately it's the way the
It's
system
YouTube.
works.
It's not a legal form of comment, anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah, but if people are concerned, that's why, because it's just the way the system works.
so can the public comment and have it part of the meeting through YouTube, or they have to be here to
Depends on
make
the chair.
comments?
It'd be up to the chair.
So normally I will monitor it, but I can't see all comments depending on how I monitor it. The tablet, she can see all comments, or if somebody messages me privately, I can go back in there and say, hey, there's a comment under Troy Community, Residents, and Citizens page. I am a member in all those ones, I can go in there and I can do it, and I can show the chair whether he wants to read it.
Yeah, and I have read some off before, kinda depends on, how relevant they are.
Some people just go on there and complain, some people go on there and actually have some stuff that they wanna, try and fix.
The bigger issue is that there's no verification of who, like, I can
Who
name
it is.
myself whoever I wanted to, and I can live wherever I wanted to.
Oh, yeah, no, I just was looking, yeah, there was, yeah,
So,
but you
and
can,
then
but things can be traced via IP. and-
right, but I mean, in our meeting minutes, when we have sign-in sheets here, it's kind of so you know where the comment's coming from, it's in the meeting minutes, if that name's not accurate, and let's say you read it,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, that happened with one of the very first meeting I came to. Keith was there from the dump, and you guys didn't know his last name or something, so he was listed as no name or something. But I saw you guys figure it out, and because he didn't sign his name right or something.
Yeah, you can't read it.
Right.
So we try and tell people to make it legible, and also to put their address on there sometimes, because you should be a resident of the town, or at least own property. It's one of those things that you should be,
Some sort of stake in the town.
right, some sort of
Right.
stake in the town. So we don't want people from Keene commenting on the stuff here when it doesn't affect them.
Right.
Or they come into our meeting and then start disrupting everything. Well, Keene does this, Keene does that. Just using Keene for an example. I have nothing against Keene.
Make sure you tell the camera
Has
that.
that happened or
It's still-
something? Is someone from Keene come here and?
You get comments from everywhere, all over the world.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the Boston Globe are watching us, just so you know. I get phone calls, Dick Faxon gets phone calls, Jeremy gets phone calls from the New York Times, the Boston Globe, everything, depending on what's going on in town.
Right. It's like the Karen Reed case. I see their selectman board had people from all over the place coming to weigh in, and I saw that. So that's what made me think of what you were just talking
So,
about.
if you notice, I never post anything, I put out information. This is when the selectmen's meeting, I will share the video, we are live streaming right now. We are meeting at the rec, we are doing this at an event, the family day is gonna be at the rec from this time, breakfast is gonna be, I don't comment on anything. Don't get in trouble that way. If you wanna have a conversation, come in here, you can do it during public comment, you make a comment, it's not called public discussion, it's called public comment. And then if you wanna be on the agenda, you go see the town administrator, he'll put you on the agenda, you'll have a 15-20 minute block, depending on what you're gonna cover. Hopefully he doesn't waste our time or anyone else's time. So, but, that's all I got, so, I'm hungry, I'd like to go to dinner, so we're done? Or-
Yeah.
My pizza's sitting in the truck, freezing. I got that first.
So 15th, we'll meet next week. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, we're meeting next week too? I missed that. Okay.
9:34, you got that?
It should be quick, we just want to discuss some things with Carol,